I've gotten so fucking used to people only talking about walls and emails, I nearly forgot there was actual issues at play. So for anybody who didn't watch the first episode, what the hell are you doing? Go watch the first episode now. I'll wait. Alright, you're back. So, you already know, but just in case you didn't, I am currently reviewing Donald Trump's first book from the year 2000, not his first book, period, but his first book on politics, The America We Deserve. So, I went into the introduction in the first video where it was literally just the introduction to the book, because a lot of people just think he's crazy racist wall boy, and he is more than that. And so now I'm going to actually delve into some of the chapters of the book. So let's start off with number 1. So there's nothing groundbreaking in this chapter, although he does bring up some good points that having more business-minded people in DC would probably help. Like, you have the Democrats want to lower the national debt and Republicans want to cut taxes, and they're both right and wrong at the same time, but they refuse to compromise. They want all or nothing, and so nothing gets done. And this is from 2000. It seems like it's still happening today. And if you look at the amount of bills passed recently, it's fucking atrocious. Anyway, the point being, though, that having somebody in there who could make a deal, come up with some sort of plan, and try to make both parties happy would not be a bad thing. There's quite a few pages in this chapter that are just American Dream, New York, blah, blah, blah. It's good stories, but it's ultimately meaningless. However, there are good points about what worked in New York and what could work in the country as a whole. You give quality of life, education, safety, create an environment where business can flourish. Then business is what pays people's salaries, and people with salaries go out and spend their money at businesses, and everything works well. I mean, there's not just income tax, but sales tax. You give people a reason to want to pay taxes to go spend their money, then the country would just be better as a whole. Mr. Trump suggests that the way to do this is for the federal government to lower regulations on business. And if you look, the federal tax code is 74,000 pages plus. That's insane, So let's just say a small business messes up with their taxes or whatever. What are they going to do? They don't have time to read 74,000 pages and make sure they're doing everything. So the IRS comes after a small business. They owe them a bunch of money. They're bankrupt. They're done. Whereas a large business can send their team of lawyers in and argue. And that's just not a very healthy environment to create competition if just the super chains are running everything. And also, not as many jobs. He goes on to attack bureaucracy. Did I just say attack? Bureaucracy and bureaucrats, which he likes to call burons, which is a combination of bureaucrat and moron. Alright, it's in the book. Figured I'd share. Anyway, I'm going to lose my train of thought now. So yeah, he attacks them, and he says that a lot of, politicians, whenever they're running for office, they like to, usually from a Republican party, are the ones that like to attack the bureaucracy and support lowering regulations on businesses and smaller federal government. But once they get into office, they either see how powerful the bureaucrats really are, or they realize that playing nice can be rather lucrative. I mean, look how many ex-politicians end up with high-ranking jobs in the private sector. Dick Cheney military contracting. He proposes a plan like Rudy Giuliani used in New York, which from 1994 to 1996 created 200,000 new jobs by, in a nutshell, lowering taxes. With this new jobs, it increased taxable income and therefore increased the city's budget, and similar plans have worked elsewhere. So getting back into America as a business, there is a lot of jackassery that goes on. He gives an example of this ice skating rink that was being built in New York in Central Park, I believe. It was taking them 6 years to renovate this ice skating rink, and he likes to point out that during that 6 years, in only 2.5, he built the 68-story Trump Tower. Anyway, yeah, so the city of New York has workers who are contracted by somebody who gets their, contract from the whatever office, who then works for the governor's office. And so there's just all kinds of crap. And that's why you end up seeing people just standing at construction sites doing nothing a lot. Anyway, I digress. The point being that the ice skating rink was taking 6 years to build, and he was actually finally allowed to take over the project at the end. And within 6 months, he had finished it up. And there's examples of this, though, that don't involve Trump all over the place, like the big dig in Boston that cost $15 billion. And I don't even really know what they were doing or what ended up happening with it. I remember when I was down in Atlanta, they were laying down fiber optic cable on like the side of the highway or something like that. And I moved away, and in like a year and a half later, I moved back, and the highway was all torn up again. And I was like, are they still doing this? And apparently, whenever they sealed the fiber optic cables in and then did something, they ended up damaging the cables, so they had to dig them back up. So, yeah, a 4-lane highway was just 2 lanes for years for absolutely no reason, because the project wasn't being run, by a proper business, somebody who actually had the foresight to think everything through. And so, you know, business could, business minds in Washington and politics in general could help projects, planning from the beginning. Um, this is going to digress a little bit too, but the Iraq War, uh, after 9/11, we went over there and we blew a bunch of crap up, and then our contingency plan was, oh, okay, well, now that we finished that, what do we do now? And there's just been chaos over there ever since, because the plan was just go bomb kill, and there was no finish to that plan. And just crap like that happens all the time. We need some business-minded people like Mr. Trump. According to him, I do not support or oppose these viewpoints. The last thing that I'd like to talk about from this chapter is that at one point he randomly goes after the alcohol and tobacco industries and says that they need to be held accountable for the damages that they cause in people's lives. I forget exactly why he was doing it. I'm not going back and reading, but I think he had a brother who died from alcohol abuse or something. But it was random, is partially why I'm bringing it up. But also, the second thing is that he acknowledges alcoholism as a disease, which most insurance companies and a lot of places of employment still don't. And he feels that, like the alcoholic pilots and stuff should be sent to treatment and whatnot before things get out of control, which was an interesting point, even though it was completely out of the blue. As you may have guessed, Chapter 2 is about the American education system. He starts off with a whole bunch of statistics about falling grades and increased violence in schools. I will spare you the details of those statistics because honestly they're boring, but they do back up his arguments. I'll get into the beef of this chapter, I suppose, but the only real thing that he talks about besides schools as businesses is that he is against the self-esteem movement, so-called, and you may know that as child worship.
It's a form of bullshit that really only can be called child worship.
Basically, the teaching to the lowest common denominator, every student is special, last place trophies in sports. I remember I got a basketball trophy for 8th place once. There were 8 teams in the league. But yeah, so he is against that. It breeds complacency and lack of discipline and lack of motivation to succeed. Being told that mediocrity is acceptable is not a good lesson for children. So the majority of this chapter is about how the Donald is pro-school choice and competition breeds success, not only among students, but among teachers. If the teachers and the administrative staff are doing a bad job running the school, and students have a choice to just go to a different school, then that school is going to fail, which is going to push the teachers and the administration to do a better job, which is going to push the students to do a better job, is his view. Teachers' unions are vehemently opposed to school choice. They always say that budget is the issue. However, money has just been thrown at school districts all around the nation. They keep getting more money. We keep getting poor results, and they keep asking for more money, saying that's the problem. And that's just a fact as a general thing. That's not his opinion. So the point of that is that it's been shown that a lot of public schools have a much higher operating budget per student than private schools. So money might not be the issue. Gotta choose my words carefully. Um, the people that are against school choice, generally their main argument is that if students are leaving the school, then the operating costs will remain the same, but they'll have lower funding because they'll have less students there, which A, seems kind of like a weird argument to me, and B, if you're not doing a bad job, the students won't be leaving anyway. So, just here's some information on school choice programs. I want to clarify that I'm just going to talk about school choice programs because really he kind of repeats the same thing over and over again in this chapter. He does branch off a little bit, saying that, sometimes students need like military at school and stuff like that, but it comes back to low income families can't afford to send their children to military school. So if there were school choice vouchers, then that wouldn't be an issue. So things like that, he just is really repeating the same thing. And I'm going to just have some facts here so you can make up your mind on his view. So in the year 2000, Florida passed a school choice voucher, which is different than public school choice. School choice voucher is where you actually get a scholarship to go to a private school for low-income families. Anyway, in 2000, Florida passed a bill which was actually overturned, making it only the second state to have school choice vouchers. A few other states voted against it, and most other states didn't even have it. The only place that there were school choice vouchers in the year 2000 was Wisconsin. It's difficult to find solid evidence on whether or not the school choice voucher program works because both proponents and opponents of the program have their own independent studies and come to their own results, but it seems the results are generally favorable in higher graduation rates and higher grades. So by the year 2013, there's still actually only 14 states, actually 13 states plus DC, that have vouchers for private schools. And I actually found it interesting. I didn't know this. It was places that I didn't expect to have school choice vouchers. Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, a lot of those backwards down south, North Carolina kind of places. Places like New England, places of learning where there's all the Ivy League schools. Nope, no school choice there. No school choice in California. Found out that Democrats are actually very anti-school choice, which I'm stupid for not knowing. Or then again, maybe the media just doesn't let me know. As far as public school choice goes, including like charter and magnet schools, or just different public schools around your town, I'd have to research that state by state, and since this is a video about Trump, I'm not going to, but it does seem to be gaining ground in the past 3 to 5 years, so just saying the country seems to be sort of going towards what he was aiming for, even under a Democratic president. Also, I guess this is relevant. Donald Trump, at least in 2000, pro-school choice. Hillary Clinton, anti-school choice. Gary Johnson, who is the Libertarian candidate this year, was the governor of New Mexico in the year 2000, and he was pro-school choice. So, third choices. I was actually planning on getting through more of the book in this video, but I guess I'm going to leave this video here because I want to keep these around 15 minutes or so that they're easily digestible. I don't want to make fucking feature-length documentaries. So, anyway, if you like the video, like it, or actually, I don't give a shit if you like it, but if you want to see more, then subscribe, because I'll continue putting these out, and if you think that it would be interesting to share with your friends, or your family, or your dog, you can chase them around the backyard, hold it on your smartphone, like, doggy, listen to this weird internet man. And also, feel free to leave a comment down there in the comment section. Yell at me, yell at Trump, yell at Hillary, whatever you want to do. I got some interesting comments the last video, so let's see what happens. And I will see you on the next episode of Is Donald Trump Crazy? I kind of sounded like a game show host. I almost said hanging up. I'm hanging up this video now. That's what I'm going with.